What's happening? What's happening? I'm GB, Brian, and Coop on the lines. What's up, guys? It's a Sports Counterpoints podcast.
What's
Last
going
day of
on?
February.
Yeah, today's February 28th, 2023. Last day of Black History Month, too.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's over.
yeah, for the month, but we are Black History, so it's all the time if you're watching this. So today we talking about the NBA. We'll do a little bit of check-in, talk about a question I had about you guys' thoughts on artificial intelligence in sports and your thoughts on all these higher scores we're seeing, I guess. We've had some pretty close to record-breaking numbers come out, and then a little bit about the NFL with the combine up, and a conceptual question about what you do with that first pick if you're the Bears. So let's start with the league, man. NBA. Kind of just checking in. All right, I know how much I was saying last week about how boring the NBA is, and I'm not into it. Someone must have heard me because I watched like 4 or 5 games in the last week, and every single one was good for a different reason. I ended up watching that Clippers Kings game. It was like 175 to like 173 or something ridiculous. Shout out,
175 to 176.
Yeah.
yeah, crazy. Kings are balling, which is dope. Shout out to the homies who are all Kings fans, and my boy Tummy Landon, who tried to say that mention defense in that game. I'm like, bro, you can't mention defense to me with 175 points each.
You ain't
But
lying.
but yeah, that was good game. Dame's going crazy. The Lakers are playing a little bit of ball. So just kind of checking in on the current state of the league, man. Have you guys watched any more games? What do you think? Are you still kind of waiting until we get close to the playoffs? What's your thoughts?
I'm gonna let Brian go because I'm waiting a little close to the playoffs. But go ahead, B.
Now, I've watched a few games. I checked in on the 175, 176 game, and I've watched a couple of the Laker games. And, you know, I don't know that the league has gotten any more interesting over the last, there's been some more points scored, but the storylines all feel like they're the same. Both the Ball brothers are out for the season.
Yep.
Now they're talking about Ron and how long he's going to be out.
Yep.
You know, it's health always around this time of the year seems to rule the storyline. Then there's all the people who were talking. We were chatting on one of the various formats we always talking about. People like Patrick Beverly and what he's saying and the craziness coming out of his mouth. So, and
What'd
for
he
those
say?
of you who haven't seen it, Patrick Beverly is like, oh, the I didn't like what was going on there, and the Lakers honored my trade request. For those of you who missed it, the day that D'Angelo Russell got traded, hours before Patrick Beverly got traded, Patrick Beverly was over there posting on social media how happy he was to have a reunion with his Minnesota brother right before he got shipped out of town. Make no mistakes about it. The Lakers wanted to get rid of Patrick Beverly, who was the second worst player in the NBA this year statistically. I just find it amusing that getting traded and then cut was what Patrick Beverly thought he wanted. He's like, oh, I want to trade. Why? You could have just gotten cut if that's what you really wanted. But
Oh,
anyways, but yeah, look, we'll see. The Lakers looked like they were up for a moment. They were undefeated since the trade deadline with LeBron.
yeah.
They still are, except for there's no more LeBron. So that has caused a little bit of a problem. They've now, I think, 2-2 without him since the trade deadline. And so I still don't have a lot of confidence that the Lakers are going to sniff 500 this year, especially when LeBron is out. They said they're going to check in with him in 2 weeks. So, yeah, it's getting towards the point where you're going to understand what's going on, but I just don't think it's all that interesting yet. KD being in Phoenix, we'll see how that goes. Memphis, I don't like them. I don't think that they're going to win much, but they think they're going to win much and a lot, and they're talking about it nonstop. I don't know. Jason, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I really don't watch the NBA. I just can't get into it. Pretty boring, like Glenn said. Now, a 175, 176, 175 game is quite interesting, but I'm with you, Glenn. Don't tell me these players are playing defense. All you got to do is just look at the point spreads for these games, and you'll see the totals are 240, 245, 235. So not much defense is being played in these games. And if you actually watch, you will see there's little resistance from a lot of players, especially when they go to the rim. Now, as far as some teams are concerned, I see that Brooklyn is still in the playoff hunt. despite getting rid of KD and Kyrie, I think maybe they're doing better without them. I know they lost maybe 3 straight games, but they're the 6th seed right
Yep.
now
Yep.
in the East. Milwaukee is still Milwaukee. They're always going to be formidable. Boston goes as far as, pretty much Tatum takes them. Philadelphia is always a wild card. You never know. You think they're talented enough to, to beat the top teams in the East, Boston and Milwaukee, but yet they don't seem to do it. Cleveland, they're just happy to make the playoffs. They're a 4th seed. They got Donovan Mitchell, so they have they'll be a tough out in the playoffs. But I have to give a shout out. Now I know I talk a lot about them or bad about them, but I got to give a shout out to the Kings. The Kings, they're putting
Yes,
up a
sir.
lot of points. Each year, I mean a lot. I mean they're putting up 120 a game, and I think they just beat Oklahoma City or Memphis, one of those teams
That
today.
won 4 in a row.
Yeah, so it looks like they're going to be a playoff team this year, which is good for Sacramento because if you're a Sacramento fan, you just want them to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're not,
Long time.
don't really care what they do. You just want to make sure they get in and not a play-in game. And right now they're the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. Like you, Brian, I'm interested in seeing Phoenix and KD. And I was just talking to my son. I was telling him I want to see the Phoenix and the Warriors play each other. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I do want to see them play in the playoffs. I think that'll be the most intriguing matchup to me in the Western Conference playoffs. And if the Lakers make it, I guess that'll intrigue me as well. But other than that, nothing about the West really excites me. I'm with you also. Memphis thinks they have a chance to win. They don't. And these storylines are the same and pretty boring. And now Jokic just had his 100th triple double.
Oh, wow.
And who knows? They're talking about giving him yet a 3rd straight MVP award.
So let me stop you on that because that is something that's interesting. I think the same thing is kind of happening to him that happened with Steve Nash, where he won it a couple times when he wasn't supposed to win it.
Yeah.
And now when he's supposed to win it, there's a difficulty, right? You don't want him to be one of these guys who gets 3 in a row, and what he's doing now shows why he fell short these last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So do you think he should get 3?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I
really don't.
And
I really don't.
He's
playing better though? Yeah,
right,
who's playing better though?
And that's the issue. Like Brian just said, Nash and Jokic got it when somebody else should have got it. Now you think they kind of probably should get it, and it's just like, well,
but you're not going to give them 3 in a row.
Yeah, you just can't give him 3 in a row. You can't do that. He already got 2, and it's just like, I'm with you, Glenn. Maybe if I go through the list, maybe I can find 1 or 2 guys.
It's gonna have to be Giannis because it's usually from a winning team is how they do it. So
yeah, and
Giannis,
number 1 or number 2 seed, yeah.
Tatum.
But Giannis's name, I would say maybe Tatum, because Giannis's name really hasn't been floated around this year, and people, they pump up Boston as if they're a flagship franchise. They're not. I mean, they only won 5 titles the last 40 years, but Tatum has been balling. He won the All-Star Game MVP. People put stock in that. I don't, but people do. He's a good scorer. Hasn't really took his
4 wins, tied for the league lead, right?
Who? Boston?
Yeah, Boston got 44
okay,
wins.
Boston. Yeah, they got wins. So I would think this might be Tatum's year. It might be his year to actually win it.
I don't know. I just don't see them giving 3 in a row to someone who's not considered in the conversation for GOAT or anything like that.
And you also have to understand, Brian, Jokic lost the last 2 years in the playoffs. He's only won 1 playoff game. He got swept and then lost 4-1. So he's like he's 1-7, 1-8 or whatever. So yeah, in the playoffs. I don't know. I think that hurts him. But what are you saying, Glenn?
Well, I'm gonna scratch the question I have asked you guys later. It's not important to this conversation. Does okay, so you mentioned Tatum and all these high scores and scoring and all this, we were talking about the Kings scoring all these points. Is this impressive to you guys? Like, do you care about all these, Dame, I love Dame Lillard for obviously Oakland, baller, just a complete, hooper's hooper, right? Put up 71, which is dope. Donovan Mitchell put up 71. We're getting all these, not all, and it's still rare, but you're getting a lot more individual scoring and then more team scoring. Is that impressive to you, or you just think it's a lack of defense, or
And don't forget triple doubles.
71.
Don't forget triple doubles is going way up.
I think the problem is that one led to the other, right? So scoring is up. So someone who would normally score in a miraculous game 50 points is now scoring 70 points. They're not really having to do much more work because the amount of points that they can score on the foul line, because any type of a hand check is going to get you on the line, is way up from when it used to be a bigger deal when Kobe and others used to do those types of miraculous feats. Now, not to say that these games aren't great, not to take away from them and say that Dame isn't doing what he's doing. That's all awesome, but I'm not impressed by the number of it. I don't think the players are better because they're scoring more points right now than they were. I think they're just using the circumstances that the NBA is presenting, which is an increased number of calls, and there's no fault in that. You're supposed to take advantage of the situation you have and do all that, but you have to kind of adjust for league average scoring. Yeah. If everyone's scoring 112 now, 115, 120,
sure, yeah,
and someone's getting 60 points, you take that ratio, and then you look at it when league scoring was at 100 or 95, and someone getting that same amount of points. That's obviously more impressive. It's a larger percentage of the kind of points that are being scored.
Yeah, and also you have to, like I was saying earlier, there's no resistance at the rim, and then there's no perimeter contact as well. So triple doubles are up as well. So you get all these guys that have triple doubles. Well, number one, there's more possessions in the game because the game is played more wide open now. I remember somebody had some stat. They were like, remember we thought the Phoenix Suns were the number one tempo team, with Nash and Stoudemire and all them. They'll be dead last if they play in the NBA right now. They'll be the slowest team in the NBA. And they were playing, at a pretty quick pace, that's 7 seconds or less offense.
Yep.
So the game has just changed. It's more offensive oriented. And this is what the NBA wanted. They wanted, more scoring. If you just look at triple doubles in 2001 season, it was 45. But if you look at the 20 years later, the 2020-21 season is 142. So you got guys coming out of nowhere just getting triple doubles, guys you never even heard of getting triple doubles now. So
it's an so rare.
Yeah, it used to be a rare thing. And so, and then it kind of, I'm not going to lie. Well, he's not on my team no more. It just got diminished, in my opinion, when Russell Westbrook kept racking them up, and I was just like, all he had to do was just, wait for a teammate to give him some rebounds, and then, he'll get his triple double with, using the 10 or 11 rebounds or whatever. So it kind of got diminished.
When you shoot 38%, it's real easy to get rebounds.
So it just got diminished once Russell Westbrook, because that's the only reason people were voting for him, because of triple doubles. They weren't actually watching the games to see how he got these triple doubles, because there were plenty of games he could have sat out, and Oklahoma City still could have won the game, and he stayed in just to get his triple double. So it kind of got diminished, in my opinion, but I'm not impressed. They're just taking advantage of the rules, like Brian said, that's presented in front of them, and then they're racking up stats. But I'm not going to say that just because somebody got 150 triple doubles at the point guard position that they're better than Isaiah Thomas, who probably only had like 20. I'm not going to say that. I can't do it.
Yeah, so makes sense.
So speaking of Mr. Westbrook, anyone else notice that the Clippers are 0-2 with him?
Yep. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it.
Welcome.
I want to wait. I want to wait till they was 2-8
on him. Yeah, that's cool. You can't.
I want to wait till they was 2-8.
Who's their coach now?
Ty Lue.
Oh, okay. All right. That's right. Yeah, I don't really follow the Clippers. Word if you're a Clipper fan. Let me ask all this. So I was watching.
Hey, Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn. They're losing tonight to Minnesota. Okay, go ahead.
Minnesota is a playoff team.
Play-in team.
Yeah, play in. Yeah.
You got to playing it off. But no, I was watching this Bomani Jones, right? The columnist, it's not a commentator, but he's like a sports analyst, author, etc. So he mentioned this thing, which it kind of got me thinking. It was interesting, was how, and I just want to get you guys' take on it. He was speaking about. He started with saying how he was reading an article that mentioned, should you even still teach children how to write? Because at a certain point, they're not going to end up writing anything anyway. You're going to put it into an AI bot, or you end up typing, right? I thought about us when we were little, right? Where you're in a math class and it was, you won't have a calculator with you all the time. So you got to know how to do this in your head. Flash forward, and I do have a calculator on me at all times, right? In my phone, etc. So he was mentioning that, and then I started thinking about AI, and you have like these AI bots now where you could put in whatever, right? Like if you want to say, create a game plan for my team to, do whatever on a basketball court with these type of players, and it'll come up with a game plan for you. So as that impacts sports, like, do you guys think we're going to get to the level where it's like all computers making coaching decisions and just straight analytics, or do you think the human aspect always has the bigger role?
Personally, with me, no, because I don't think you can play a game just with analytics, because that's what Daryl Morey for the Houston was trying to do with the Houston Rockets, and now he's trying to do with the Philadelphia 76ers.
They won.
You see how many championships they've won. They've won 0. So so
Oh, the Rockets. I'm
the
thinking.
Rockets. Yeah, the
Okay, yeah,
Rockets.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, so I don't think now we are, if anybody listening to the show know that all of us love some type of stats, but I don't think you can base every coaching decision and everything just based off stats, because there's stuff that stats don't pick up, like flow of the game or the quality of opponent or chemistry and things like that, or maybe a heart of a player. It doesn't,
Sure.
it doesn't pick up anything, things like that. But they do help in making certain decisions at certain points of the game. But I would never play a game or build my roster based solely off of analytics. I just couldn't do it. Football, they're helpful as well, but again, I can't pick a quarterback. I'll give you an example. Baker Mayfield. Now, Pro Football Focus
Surprised you only had one.
is a company. Oh, I got more. Is a company that I really respect what they do. I like to look at what they have and sometimes compare it to others, and I'll sometimes reference it, but it's not the end all be all for me. And the Baker Mayfield was their number one college prospect, a quarterback coming out in years. I think it was probably ever, and they really thought he was going to hit in the NFL. And if you listen to this podcast, listen to me and Brian, we told you, yeah, nah, it's not going to happen. This isn't Oklahoma. This isn't the Big 12. It's the NFL. Not fast enough, not big enough, not strong enough, et cetera. It's not going to work. And of course, we were right on that. But PFF admittedly said, okay, we made a mistake on that, but they went solely off the analytics to prove their point that Baker Mayfield was going to hit in the NFL. So you can't always do that. If you looked at his height, his weight, his speed, his arm strength, Baker Mayfield, and playing in Cleveland with that cold wind and your arm is so. Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah. So yeah, Brian. I mean, Glenn, I don't think it's going to take over the NFL or NBA. I know baseball it works very well, but NBA, NFL, I can't use analytics just solely to build my team. Brian, what you think?
So Chat GBT
Yep.
and all these other tools kind of have ruled my world for the last month or two, where people just constantly want to talk about it. And I feel like this is a little bit related. I don't fault anyone who wants to use AI analytics tools to try and help them evaluate personnel and make decisions and develop their strategy. But there's only so far it can take you. You have to be able to figure out and get a feel for the situation. And a computer can't look at a player and see that look in their eyes and determine whether or not it's going to be a good night or a bad night at the beginning of the game. And a lot of coaches can, and a lot of other players can. There's plenty of times where someone walked in and like a Kobe walked into the locker room and said, "I'm on tonight, just give me the ball." Now, the game plan just changed. Whatever analytics told you before, the game plan just changed because a star player, a Shaq, a Kobe, a LeBron, a Michael Jordan, whoever it was, just said, it's going to be that kind of a night. And it's that kind of a night. But how you got there and understanding that, you need a player like Scottie Pippen to complement a Michael Jordan, or that having a player like Dennis Rodman on your team statistically would be beneficial because his focus fits in well with the other players. Those types of decisions can be made by analytics and helped to be made by those analytics. But there's always going to be a personal element to it that you can't see in numbers. Now, when it comes to feeding it into a system, I really do like numbers. I've always liked numbers. I use a lot of the analytic tools when I play in fantasy football. Numbers. I always trust numbers and production numbers, and the various things that I use that maybe some other people don't, over my own gut. And so there's plenty of times where there's a player that I love in person, or is a favorite player of mine for many reasons, maybe because they play for my team, maybe they play for anything else. But if the numbers don't bear out, I sell. So, I'll trade back in the day an Adrian Peterson, or I'll trade, a Dalvin Cook, because statistically it makes more sense for whatever reasons. So numbers are very, very useful, but they can only get you so far. And they're more useful in a in an exercise like a fantasy football team than they are in a
Yeah.
real football team
Yep.
where you just have to get an idea. Sometimes in warmups, you could just see, oh, that guy's got a look in his eyes. We're going to run the ball a lot today. Or, hey, there's something about the way he's warming up. He just feels a little lackluster. I know he historically has always played well against this team, but we're gonna go a different direction just because the numbers don't tell you what's going on in the locker room or whatever else is going on. You can't figure out that the player's wife is pregnant and in a different place and his mind's just not there, and
Yep.
whatever it is.
You made a good point on fantasy football, Brian, because analytically somebody can look good one year. Let's just say a quarterback. They play against a bunch of bad defenses, right? And they pass for a lot of yards. Okay. That following year, most likely their schedule is going to get harder. And let's just say they play against 10 of the top passing defenses in the league. But analytics is telling you from the previous year, hey, take this guy, not knowing the defenses you're playing next year, you're probably not going to put up them kind of numbers. So that's a good thing. And also plus minus. I know me and Brian reference plus minus. I think Brian maybe a little more than I do in the NBA, but I think that also helps who you play with. I think if you have a Curry and a Klay Thompson on their team, I think Durant. I think your plus minus is always going to be plus playing with those guys. Where if you go to Orlando, I don't think you're going to have a great plus minus, and that's always been my thing about Draymond Green. I think he fits where he's at Golden State. I don't think if he went anywhere else, he would have that any kind of impact or a great plus minus or whatever if he played for a worse franchise. So, but yeah, I'm with you, Brian. I use analytics.
But comparative and situational plus minus tells you a lot. If every time you put these XYZ 3 or 4 or 5 players together,
right,
they are relative to their own team and their stats, whether it's Orlando or not. So
correct.
Let's say Orlando's always losing games by 10, but they're only -3 with these guys. That's a plus, and that the team is better off when these guys are playing than these other guys are playing.
Yeah.
You can build from that, or have them play more, or find a player that fits in with them that can score to get them to the plus side of things. But yeah, so it is, you can't use the raw numbers in fantasy football. One of the most mistaken use of numbers is when we're looking at drafting people in a next season, we'll look at the totality of the numbers from this season. And then maybe we'll break it out per game. So these guys got 20, not realizing that they got 40 points in one game and 2 points in another game. And we don't do that instinctively when we're looking at who we're going to draft. And then the other one is that, situations change. Offensive coordinators make a difference in some cases. I wouldn't say that it makes a difference in like Kansas City's case, but in most teams' cases, having a new offensive coordinator can add a hitch.
Yep, scheme fit, all that. Yeah.
I think what Bomani mentioned, which I think is kind of referencing your points too, is that as long as you have a head coach or someone who has the answer for the decision, you're always going to have a human element, because you can't ever look back and say, oh, well, ChatGPT told me that I should play them and them, and they lost. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to say, oh, well, okay, fine. It's like, you're the coach, you're going to get fired. They're not going to fire your AI. So that was one of Bomani's points, but it was just interesting to me. And as you mentioned that, Brian, and I've just been seeing a lot more people talking about it and just kind of building out, taking out the human element and the work element and just letting, a computer do it, which is cool. But now you're also putting it on whoever programmed that computer to know what they're talking about and make your analytics work. So I just want to get you guys' take. I find it interesting. And we were transitioning to the NFL as well with the combine coming up, man. Like, do you guys pay attention to the combine? And, are you looking forward to seeing any specific player, or, what do you think?
I'm looking forward to the combine, but not for the underwear Olympics that everybody else is looking forward to. The 40 times. I don't care about that type of stuff. I don't think a player's draft stock should rise significantly because of the combine. I mean, you should have a couple years worth of film to look at to see how good the player is. The reason why I'm looking forward to the combine is because this is where the agents get together and they talk. The tampering rule in the NFL is a joke, because this is when they get together and they start making deals. For example, I know the Chargers, they're thinking about either getting rid of Khalil Mack or Keenan Allen. Now, I know Khalil Mack isn't the pass rusher he is, but he's still good against the run. Keenan Allen, he has a $19 million. He's owed $19 million this year with a $21 million cap hit. So most likely he's going to go. So I'm sure his agent is trying to find out, because the charge, nobody's going to trade for him because of his cap hitting his salary. So he's going to have to get cut, which he will get cut. And I'm sure his agent's out there trying to find a 2-year, 20 million guaranteed deal or something, try to get him some money. So that's why I like the combine, because that's when these
Interesting.
agents for all these quarterbacks and wide receivers and guys, they know, because sometimes, I mean, you guys know, a lot of these guys, sometimes they get cut not because they're not any good, but they're not good enough to for that salary that they're getting. And that's what
Yep.
it's all about. They're trying to save some money, and their agent is out there trying to work a deal for them. So this is when a lot of stuff happens. So that's why I'm interested in the combine. I want to know who might be going where. And there's a lot of quarterbacks we've heard about: Derek Carr, some we
Yep.
haven't heard about: Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, whatever. So you want to see where these dominoes fall on all these players. So that's why I'm looking forward to the combine. As far as the
Interesting.
40 times and the shuttle times and all that type of stuff, I don't care about all that stuff. I don't care. What about you, B?
Good
And I
points.
like it because you're like you said, there's a lot of things that happen during that period of time. Trades get made, people go there and see players. I don't think that the actual results of the combine are as impactful. Sometimes they are. I was watching the combine. It was on one of the TVs, and I saw Chris Johnson run for the first time in the
Yeah.
combine, and I was convinced he was going to be a star. And I drafted him early. Everyone else was like, he was like a maybe add free agent list, and I drafted him like the 6th or 7th round, and ended up winning 2 championships in fantasy football because of it. So there are gems to be found, but it's few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Antonio Gates was another one that you saw him in the combine, and there was no real reason to believe that based on his history he was going to do it, but you saw him just doing things. You was like, that guy is not, he's different. There's something about him. But by and large, you're not going to, you should not take somebody who was considered irrelevant and put them into the stratosphere based on combine performance. And, a big lineman goes up there and has a big bench press and does, 60, 70 reps. Like, yeah, and,
Yeah, right.
like,
It didn't look like he
great.
did 670 reps when he played against East Roast Beef Tech. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
right.
great.
Exactly.
How good's his swim move? How
Right.
good's his bull charge? How good can he read a scheme and counter that? And I also don't think that the Wonderlick or whatever that they call the test, I
Yeah.
think it's the
Yeah.
Wonderlick. I don't think that's useful at all. And then I don't think, even when you look at some people who have had really bad histories who did poorly, but for every one of those, there's 15 of them who did poorly on the Wonderlic test, but
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
prodigious NFL talents or just get it for whatever reason. And that, Matt, with Fitzpatrick went to Harvard, got a perfect score on the Wonderlic test, solid quarterback, but that had no impact on it. So I just think the thing that makes the combine interesting is, as you said, Jason, everybody's getting together, and that's going to spark a whole lot of conversation. A lot of deals get done, whether they get done officially or if they wait
Yeah.
until see. A lot of deals get done at the combine. A lot of rumors get started, or a lot of talk. You start figuring out what teams are going to really look like, because when they go there and they go, oh, this wide receiver class is weak, I need to go make a move and go get myself a wide receiver. That's when you're going to see Arizona getting all types of offers for DeAndre Hopkins. Right? It's after the combine.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm with you on the Wonderlic, Brian, but I would want my quarterback to probably have like a 30 or above. But there was a guy, Ben Roethlisberger, won 3 Super Bowls. He had a 25. So I'm with you on the Wonderlic, though. I don't think that guarantees success, because Blaine Gabbert got a 42. I think that's maybe the 3rd highest score ever. So, and Greg
Well,
McElroy, you probably don't know him. He
no.
quarterback Alabama. He had a 48, and that's the one of the highest ever, with tied with Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I don't think it guarantees success, but I think it might mean a little something. But with you, I'm with you. It depends on scheme, your fit, who's your coach, your offense coordinator, what they're asking you to do, et cetera. That's a lot more important. And also, Glenn, with the combine, we've seen a lot of players over the years rise because of it, and it's been like a dumb move. I remember there was a guy named Kyle Bowler who ended up getting drafted in the 1st round out of Cal, all because he threw the ball 60 yards. I mean, and they ended up drafting him with Baltimore, and he sucked. So there's been a lot of guys like that to rise through the combine. I never understood why a throwing session with nobody on the field boosted your draft status when you had years of tape or a year or two worth of tape to look at to find out what he can and cannot do. So But yeah, that's just my only take on the combo. I'm looking forward to it, but not for the
I
reasons everybody else
wonder,
is.
and I wonder now too, kind of one to your point earlier, like even with the AI thing of like you can't, that's not going to give you a player's desire, the chip on a player's shoulder, the offensive coordinator, all the other things that go into making you good. But now it's got me wondering if it has a racial component too. It was just a way to keep certain players out, right, based on test results, et cetera.
Hmm? What
Yeah,
do you think,
well,
B?
I mean, maybe, but if you look at like recent tests, I'll pick on the was it 2020 draft class. Nate Stanley, Jake Fromm, Joe Burrow were the only three to get over a 30.
Wait. Name those quarterbacks again. I'm sorry. I know
Nate
Jake Fromm.
Stanley from Iowa,
Nate Stanley. Oh, okay.
irrelevant. Jake
Right.
Fromm from Georgia got a
He's
35,
irrelevant. Yeah.
and Joe Burrow got a 34.
Burrow. Okay.
He's very good.
Okay.
On the bottom end of that were Tua at 13, Jalen at 18. He's done all right. Won a Super Bowl and all. And then a bunch of guys in the middle. Justin Herbert was at 25.
Where was Fields?
Where
was Fields on that list? Is Fields there?
No, they're different classes.
Got you. Okay.
Lamar Jackson got a 13. Remember, it was a big deal because it got leaked. It always ends up out, but got leaked, and so people were talking about whether or not he should be drafted or whatever. I just don't think there's a huge correlation because nobody was like, "Ooh, Nate Stanley." He got a 40. We got to go get him.
Yeah, I'm looking at the test too. It's interesting. I might take one. Not
So
soon though. It's already got me off.
they did. There's some fantasy football leagues that will have people take the Wonderlic and then do the draft order based on their score.
That's cool. Actually, interesting thought.
Interesting.
It's SAT-ish, kind of from some of the questions I'm seeing.
Pat McNally was the only player to get a punter from Harvard. Was the only one to get a perfect score.
He got a 50, right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I could see how you could do well or do bad based on
Fitzpatrick got a 48.
How quick you're on your feet. Let me ask you guys this, as we mentioned the combine and all these tests, et cetera. Jason mentioned this, and I'm curious about it too. If you were the Bears, you have that first pick. You already have your franchise quarterback, right, Coop? No way you'd get rid of Justin Fields. So Do you keep the pick and get the top defensive player? Do you get a receiver? Do you get running back? Do you trade it? What would you do?
So I knew they would be open for business when the coach came out after the season and said his quarterback needs to get better at throwing the football. Okay, so I already knew right there, all things were on the table. And the GM comes out and said they're taking every call, pretty much. If you're the Minnesota Vikings, somebody calls about Justin Jefferson, you're hanging up. If you're the Raiders and somebody's calling about Devontae Adams, you're hanging up. But if you're the Bears and they call about anybody, you're taking that call and seeing what they got. And if you're the Bears, you should. This is a new coaching staff. They didn't draft Justin Fields, and I'm not sure if they actually want to tie their careers to him because we all know you get fired most of the time when you don't have a quarterback. So if that's not the quarterback you're choosing, that was the previous regime, you want to get your own, now is the time to do it. So if I'm the Bears, I'm kind of building the team the way I want, and I'm trying to get rid of a lot of players if I can. Of course, there's some
ton of cap space too.
You got a lot of cap space too. I would keep Mooney. I would keep the couple running backs too. I wouldn't be so desperate in those positions. Chase Claypool, you gave up a second round pick, so you kind of got to keep him as well. But everybody else, man, you got to be open for business, including trading the quarterback. And if I'm the Bears, I'm not coming back with Justin Fields. But also another problem that kind of complicates is I think you guys know my feeling on Bryce Young. I think he's probably the best Alabama quarterback prospect ever. I think he's just good. But if he was 6'3", 220, I don't think this would be a discussion. He'd be the number one pick. The problem is he's about 5'10", and everybody's going to find out at the combine how small he is. He's a very little guy. So, if I'm the Bears, I really wouldn't draft Bryce Young. Guy. He's a very little guy. Yeah, I wouldn't draft him if I'm the Bears. But if you are interested in Will Levis or all these other quarterbacks coming out, I would say take a swing and go there if you don't feel Justin Fields is your guy, because you're going to be tied to him for at least another couple of years, and you're going to have to pick up that fifth-year option. So I would see what I can get for him. Brian, what you think?
Well, I think Ryan Poles has made it very clear they're keeping Justin Fields. And I think part of the reason that they're looking to trade the number one pick was because the guy that most people think that you should take is Bryce Young with a top pick. And there's a couple of linemen. But the Bears are pretty far away from being a really good team. They're not a Bryce Young away. They're not a one player away. So if you can get multiple picks, trade the number one. I actually watched Drafty on the plane the other day, And if you guys ever seen the movie, there's a whole bunch of trading of the number one pick and whatever. But anyways, if you could trade the number one pick and get yourself a lower first or 2 firsts and another second, you have to look at that. You have to build talent, because while they have a lot of cap space, teams that have a lot of draft depth and can take multiple shots, not because all of them are going to make it, but because you can get rid of the ones that don't and not worry, not feel like you just lost in the draft. If you've got 20 picks and only 10 of them pan out, that's okay. If you've got 12 and only 3 or 4 of them pan out, you've now put yourself at a disadvantage, because you have to find expensive free agents to come in and do the roles that some of these other rookies will do, and that costs you too much. So, if the Bears want to try and get better over the next couple of years, they need to build draft capital, get as many picks as they can, and then hopefully go and use all of that money to fill in players at key positions that they weren't able to draft or didn't, win the draft, and build that team up. And it's a hell of a lot easier to go overpay a cornerback than, get
Jalen Ramsey
lucky in the draft. So.
Hey, all right, so Brian, let me ask you this. So Justin Fields is not a first round quarterback, and I know it's because nobody's giving the Bears a first round pick for him. So let's just say you're the Bears, somebody gives you 2 seconds and maybe a 5th for Justin Fields, and you get another free agent quarterback that's out this year to play for the Bears. Do you do that?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, we always talk about this, and I tease you a lot about it, but there are 32 NFL teams. And I guarantee you, if you wrote a list down, you, Jason, do not think there are 32 starting quarterbacks.
Oh, no.
So there's, I'll pick on you and say you probably wouldn't get to 15. You probably have like 12 guys in your mind that starting NFL quarterbacks. But that means there's 20 guys that are going to get a job. And I would say that Justin Fields is in the top. I'll just say 20. I'll go say of NFL quarterbacks right now, starting quarterbacks right now.
Top 20, damn.
So if you get rid of him, you're not going to go get Carson Wentz and be better off. You're not going to be able to go get, now that some folks were actually suggesting that the Raiders go get Carson Wentz, and a bunch of the Raider fans were like,
his agent.
Yeah, but a bunch of the Raider fans were like, but he got benched by Taylor Heineke.
Right.
We don't want him. You go through all these players that are available, and there's just not enough good players. And so when you have especially if you're a team like the Bears, where you're still 3-4 years left, and you have a quarterback that needs to develop like Justin Fields, but is okay, solid. I think you keep him until you have a really good team that's a quarterback away. I don't think you give him a massive free agent deal. He's not going to make a Deshaun Watson money and Lamar Jackson money, but you don't have to do that right now. So there's no good reason to go and pay, rejected quarterback 52 to come in. And
they got the first pick. They could draft.
I'm just throwing this out.
The guy, though.
Yeah, I know
Jason feels that way, but he's.
I'm gonna throw who? What guy?
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
He's not the guy for the Bears. No.
If he came in next year, I don't think he's gonna do it for anyone. But if he came in next year, that team is not better in the next 2 to 3 years.
I wouldn't put him in cold weather, just like I wouldn't put Derek Carr in cold weather either. But okay, let me just give you this: yay or nay? Anthony Richardson out of Florida, he can't throw either. He's 54% in college. Okay, but he can run. He's really athletic. He's 6'4". Let's just say somebody give you a few picks, 3 picks for Justin Fields. You can go get Anthony Richardson from Florida with the number 1 pick. Would you do it?
I know what Justin Fields can do. Okay. Justin Fields has actually won football games in the NFL. Anthony, whoever you just mentioned,
from Florida,
has not. There's something to be said for having played in the NFL, being successful, leading in his case, leading the NFL in QB rushing yards this year, when there's a lot of rushing quarterbacks out there these days. That there's something to be said for that. And again, when you're in a situation like they're in,
they're not a quarterback away, which I agree.
Yeah,
definitely
not one player.
Away.
Yeah,
and Justin Fields is still relatively cheap.
And cheap, yeah.
And they don't have to, they don't have to pay him. And trading the first round pick, the number one pick will almost certainly get them more draft capital than trading Justin Fields.
Yeah, I actually hope they do because I would like to see Bryce Young in Houston. I think playing on that turf and indoors would probably be one of the only chances he'll have to be successful.
Chance with
Especially
D'Amico.
outdoors. So
Yeah.
and with D'Amico. So we'll know. We'll see. I like him. He's just so damn small. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay.
What do you guys? All right, so I'm appreciating it, man. We'll get back to it next week. Let's end it off, man. What's a bunch of hogwash in Brian's segment, man?
Oh, I just want to acknowledge one thing on the Sparks before we change. So just a couple of minutes ago, Jonathan Quick of the Kings, who has been the mainstay for the Kings during all their was just traded. That's a little bit sad. I don't even think it's on ESPN or whatever. I just got a text from a buddy.
He was traded.
He was traded.
Sacramento Kings.
So it's the end of
LA Kings.
LA Kings, right? Oh, right, LA Kings. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, Jonathan Quick. Okay, got you. Yeah, got you. Okay.
Yeah, 27
Patrick King
minutes
was
ago.
also traded today, but it hasn't even hit. Yeah, it hasn't even hit the news yet. Just for anyone who follows hockey, they will know that is the end of an era in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The Kings actually are playing pretty well and could make some noise in the playoffs, and ultimately they decided they needed to do something there. But that one's hard. It's not like trading a Kobe. It's more like trading maybe like a Derek Fisher, someone who's always been there through all the wins, but he's probably more valuable than Derek Fisher.
Yeah.
I mean, he was huge, but he is more. You get the point. He's not going to go to go down as one of the greatest ever, but he was a hugely important part. So, anyways,
almost like a Bob Hooray, like a Bob Hooray, Robert Horry, Bob Hooray. Not going to go down as a Hall of Famer, but very important.
Yeah, he's the kind of piece. But he's been, Quick has been part of the team for so long. Horry was he's a man for hire.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 7 times.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, he's only Kings goalie.
Draymond, there you go. He was an active and valuable part of all of those teams and had been in the team forever. And now he's gone. Yeah. But he wasn't, he's playing like Draymond is. He fit well with the Kings, but he's not the guy anymore. Anyways,
how the game goes. Yeah, no, good mention because it just happened. So we're talking about what's Brian's segment, man, a bunch of hogwash. What you got?
I'm just gonna give you one, man. When I read that article that Russell Wilson tried to get Pete Carroll and the offense coordinator fired, like who in the hell do you think you are?
He said he didn't.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I believe. Yeah, so I know they were at odds. I know they were at odds with each other the last couple of years, but damn, he tried to get the coach and the OC fired. Yeah, I don't think he has that kind of pull to do that in Seattle.
Looks like they made the right choice.
Especially since Pete Carroll has a college and a NFL championship on his resume. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And then it said he wanted Sean Payton to be his coach, so he has Sean Payton as coach. We'll see what happens, but I think that's hogwash. Try to get the coach and OC fired. I just laughed when I read that. But anyway, B, what's yours?
I was going to pick on Patrick Beverley, but I already did that. It's a bunch of hogwash. That guy wants to come out and say that he asked for a trade. Like, man, you asked for a trade to get cut. Like, that was brilliant. I don't know. The Lakers are a bunch of hogwash. You guys are trying to get me damn excited again. For a moment, for a hot second, I started to believe, and then LeBron goes out with a foot injury, which he's been suffering for weeks, and now he's out for multiple weeks, possibly the rest of the regular season, which will be the rest of their season because they're not going to make the play or anything else if he can't play. But the Lakers are a bunch of hogwash. You guys do all this stuff, and you didn't make sure that your main engine is working. So.
He can't play under 40 minutes a night. When he's not on, that team is just not the same. It's bad, but it's unfortunate. It has to be like that. The oldest player on the team has to be on his game for the team to win, but whatever. Glenn, what's yours?
We'll see what the young guys do. So mine, and it's two things that relate to each other. A bunch of hogwash, man. Hella hogwash is high fashion in sports. My guys, man, after seeing Kyle Kuzma today, I don't even have a comparison for what the boy was dressed at. It was like Grimace if you put him like in syrup and rolled him around in feathers or something. Like, bro, what is you on, man? Every time I see these guys with these, I'm the biggest, I'm Mr. Not My Job, the biggest person, the biggest proponent of do what you want, express yourself, all that. at some point, man, high fashion looks like you have to be high to understand it because how Westbrook be rocking, Kyle Kuzma. I see you guys coming to the games, man. Like, what is y'all on, bro? Like, I know this might be a $10,000 fit. It's all the rave in Paris or whatever. Fam, you are in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Rock a coat, bro, and boots. Secondarily,
Hey,
my other point, they do not give Allen Iverson the credit that they should. Every one of these guys should be sending him a check or a thank you letter because Iverson took all of that gunfire for dressing and being a thug, and they changed the
Dress
whole
code.
league
Yeah.
dress code for
Yeah.
Iverson, right? So that they got to wear these suits, and then now y'all are wearing tube tops and some flip flops. And the boy, what's the guy from Memphis today? Came in looking like Stone Cold Steve Austin. The boy had a vest with no shirt, some cutoff shorts. Like, fam, bro, stop, man. So that's to me a bunch of hogwash, man. Express yourself, cool, but this high fashion stuff is it's outlandish.
Yeah, they say it costs a lot of money. I don't give a damn. You might want to get your
It's ridiculous.
$9,999 back. You should have paid $1 for it. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. So yeah, Bill, you sound like you're gonna say something.
nope.
All right, I didn't know if you had something there. All
Oh,
right,
I
cool.
guess I will say this. Glenn, you'll appreciate this. When I saw Kyle Kuzma's outfit, the first thing that I thought of was blue from Rainbow Friends. So my son plays
Wow.
Roblox, and anyone who
Yeah.
has a game called Rainbow Friends, and one of the characters
Yep.
looks like this old blue dumpy thing that just kind of slumps around, and that's exactly what I thought. The first thought I had.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got kids and I'm old. I get it.
No, that's fine, but that shouldn't be your thought, bro. For years,
Oh
I
yeah,
watched, and if
it's
I
not
watched basketball,
fashion
and
forward.
I'm older now, right? So I understand I don't necessarily dress like that exactly, but I could match the fits and the suits and all that. Now it's like, bro, I can't rock with none of that. And it's not just an old thing because I wear suits, I wear baggy pants, I wear hats, I do all of it, but I'll be doing the most. So
Yeah.
that's hella hogwash to me. And then our last segment, man. I got nothing for the minute to win it. I just appreciate you letting me do the show. Thanks everybody for listening. And we're gonna keep coming.
Yeah. Same here. Thanks everybody for listening. I don't have anything. I'll
I'll do
have
a
plenty
shout
for the
out.
season.
So about an hour or two ago, became official news that Vanessa Bryant had settled her case with the county for the crash photos for about 28.85 million. The other family settled for something like 20 million. And been something I really didn't want to talk too much about because my firm was involved in all of that. But I think it's just a lot of people are like, oh, she doesn't need the money, they shouldn't give her the money. But what happened to that family and what happened to Kobe and his memory and all of that stuff was tragic. And hopefully the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles Fire Department, the Los Angeles County Council, which I used to work for, that was on the other side of this case, all learned a very valuable lesson about how they need to conduct themselves and do business.
Mhm.
And if anything, what $40 million or almost $50 million worth of settlements will make some people at the board of supervisors realize they got some work to do and get that situation set up and cleared out. So hats off to them, or acknowledgement of them. Those people who did that stuff, as anyone you could possibly meet, they were dead wrong for what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, folks. So yeah,
Real
rest in
talk.
peace to the families, man, and may they rest in peace for real, because that's horrible. Glad it's over with.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Thanks for checking us out. Sports Counterpoints podcast. We'll check you out next time.